Welcome to this webinar about the Goldfields Food Community 2023 Early Findings Summary. I would like to acknowledge our funder Healthway and our project partners including WA Country Health Service, the Social Enterprise Wicked Lab, the Public Health Advocacy Institute and ECU, the Centre for People, Place and Planet. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we are viewing this webinar. We recognise their continuing connection to the land and the beautiful ocean and thank them for protecting this country for thousands of generations. We respect all elders past and present. Just as a refresher, our project aims to identify, map, evaluate and strengthen food security initiatives across the WA regions, and in particular, for this case, that's supporting food security action in the Goldfields region. Now I'm going to take you through some of our Goldfields Food Community Project activities to date. And that includes the project launch, which was held in Kalgoorlie and online in November of 2022. We then conducted 16 interviews capturing 18 initiatives with people running food security initiatives across the Goldfields region. We then returned to Kalgoorlie in November of 2023 to hold our results sharing and action planning workshop, where we co-designed action plans with initiative leaders who had previously participated in an interview with us to further strengthen their already amazing work. And at our launch in 2022, we asked people what vision they had for a food secure Goldfields region, and with those insights we created this graphic recording that you can see here to really showcase the kind of themes that people wanted to see. So they wanted to see themes like access to local produce, so things like an increase in local food production and sustainable wages. Another theme was sustainable funding, so dedicated regional resource funding to oversee programs. Another was education and employment, so embedding facilitated programs into school curriculums. Another was collaboration between community and services, so a more coordinated approach in service delivery and greater community consultation. And then another theme was food access, so reliable, affordable, quality food supply. So this vision was based on that brainstorming activity at the launch, but it was also shared through social media sites in the Goldfields region to get people's additions and feedback, and we also asked people to circulate it through their own networks so that others could also contribute to this vision. During our interviews with initiative leaders, we also asked them about their vision for a food secure Goldfields region, and some of their additions included increasing access to healthy, affordable food, increase in self-reliance and people growing their own food at home, increasing community gardens and food forests as a place to access food and learn food growing skills, and an increase in nutrition education and cooking skills opportunities. Next up is a snapshot of our results that we've uncovered after our first round of interviews and action planning in the Goldfields region. So this includes we conducted 16 interviews and looked in depth at 18 initiatives focusing on food security. When we asked initiative leaders who they were working in partnership with, we found that there were 40 partnering organisations. So when we interviewed people, we asked them things like who they work with and where they get their funding from, and this helps us to build a map or an understanding of the kinds of different organisations that are working to implement these initiatives. We've also mapped the interviewed initiatives against the dimensions or aspects of food security, and some initiatives can address multiple where relevant. So we found that there were 4 initiatives that are focusing on food availability, 13 focusing on food access, 12 on food utilisation, 1 on stability, 1 on agency, and 1 initiative focusing on sustainability. So we know that there are more than these 18 initiatives happening in the Goldfields region, but this is just a snapshot of what's happening. Now this gives you a picture of the types of initiatives we interviewed. So there were 9 food literacy and health promotion initiatives, 5 emergency food relief and community programs, 2 networks and/or alliances, 1 community garden and/or food swapping group, and 1 policy or strategic plan. And of course, these types of initiatives are spread across various dimensions of food security, and some may cover multiple as well where relevant. For example, food access is covered by food relief and community programs, food utilisation is covered by food literacy and health promotion initiatives, And then both the food access and availability dimension is covered by those community garden type initiatives as well. We've also mapped the interviewed initiatives across the lifespan to showcase where the focus areas of the initiatives are and where there are some space for opportunities. As you can see here, majority of the initiatives we interviewed are focused on those school-aged children, youth or adults, and they are less focused on early years and seniors or older adults. We've also shown this information in another way through a socio-ecological model, and this shows the different levels of intervention that these initiatives are focusing on. For example, at that individual level, they're focusing on the knowledge, skills or attitudes of an individual client or people that they're working directly with. Then at that interpersonal level, these ones are focusing on relationships between family or social networks, or looking at the connection between these different levels of social networks and partnerships. Then at an institutional level, these ones are often embedded within schools or other settings like workplaces, for example, or thinking about how they might be an emergency relief project that are focused on supporting clients from within different institutions. Then at a community level, these ones focus on different partnerships between community organisations. And then we have the public policy level, for example, a local government public health plan like the one we have listed here. So this gives us a little snapshot view of the kinds of focus areas that the initiatives in the Goldfields region have. So there are more at that individual and institutional level, and fewer at those interpersonal, community and public policy levels. As I mentioned earlier during the interviews, we asked people who they work in partnership with, who their stakeholders are and where they get their funding from. And this helped us to build this partnership map that you can see here, which we generated through the Wicked Lab software. And this map helps us to understand the kind of different organisations that are working in the space and how they potentially work together to implement initiatives. In terms of these stakeholders, partnerships and collaborations, there were on average 2.2 partnering organisations per initiative. And the two main types of organisations were not-for-profits and state government. So this just shows a bit of the range of different types of collaborators that are working on food security in the Goldfields region. This is the Goldfields transition card, or our systems change map, which visualises how the Goldfields food security system is contributing to 36 systems change characteristics across 9 different focus areas. So it shows the 18 initiatives down the left side, and they're listed in terms of the name of the initiative. Then each of these columns are the 9 different focus areas that make up our framework, and you can find more information about that in some of our previous webinars. So the coloured tiles indicate whether the initiatives possess that focus area's characteristic. So each characteristic aligns with the question asked during the interview, and the same coloured tiles are all of the characteristic for that one focus area. For example, the red tiles are the 8 characteristics under focus area 1. So if the tile is coloured, then the initiative possesses that characteristic, and if it's blank, they either responded no to our question in the interview, or they couldn't provide evidence as to how they possess the characteristic. So there's no right or wrong answer in the interview, and it's not necessarily a bad thing if an initiative doesn't possess that characteristic. It just offers these windows of opportunity to strengthen different parts or aspects of that initiative through small tweaks or changes. So then you can see that we have these 3 red boxes. So these are the focus areas which have the most windows of opportunity. So focus areas 5, 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 here were the different focus areas that we had identified to work on when we returned back to the region to hold our results sharing and action planning workshop. So focus area 5 is around building collective knowledge, so that could be about using technology to share information with others addressing food security in the region, or connecting people who have different perspectives on food security. Then focus areas 6 and 7 could be more about bridging community programs to government strategic plans. And then focus areas 8 and 9 might be about how government can share information about food security initiatives that are happening in their region with their jurisdiction. So taking a closer look at those focus areas now, we can see that 57% of interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 1, which is shake things up. 46% of the interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 2, which is amplify action. 50% of the interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 3, which is create identity and combine resources. And then 54% of the interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 4, which is embed, watch and respond. While under those focus areas to strengthen, we can see that 37% of interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 5, which is build collective knowledge. 33% of those interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 6, which is align government and community. 21% of those interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 7, which is shape policies with community voices. 40% of interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 8, which is tap into community know-how. And then 8% of interviewed initiatives possessed focus area 9, which is promote community initiatives. So this analysis here is how we determined that these were the focus areas that had the most windows of opportunity, and then we focused on strengthening those areas with initiative leaders during our action planning workshop. So in November of 2023, we returned to the region to hold the Goldfields Food Community Results Sharing and Action Planning Workshop. So this workshop aimed to share early findings of the project's 2023 cycle and co-design an action plan with each initiative leader to further strengthen their work. So these actions were realistic, small tweaks or value adds rather than whole initiative changes. So 2 people so far have participated in action planning in person, online, or self-completed their action plans with the food community team's support. So these are collectively aiming to address systems change characteristics across the food security system in the Goldfields. So that brings us to the end of this webinar. Thank you for watching. You can contact us, the food community team, via our website, follow us on Facebook or send us an email.